Welcome at a new edition of the Market Reports with Martin and myself.
Kaspar.
Yes, Kaspar.
For people that watch this the first time, sorry.
Okay, yes, thank you, Martin. This week it's all about the elections in the US, and at the moment it's Friday afternoon. It's 4:13.
Who won, Kaspar? I don't know.
That's not sure, but we can bet on it. I bet on Biden, symbolic around 10,000 euros.
Well, I do €5.
Okay, so a lot about the elections, and I think it was quite, it was not that heavy as 4 years ago.
No.
Biden will win, probably. And a lot of investors asked us the questions and asked themselves the questions. Okay, last time at the end it was clear. It's always when somebody like Trump wins, one of the Republicans,
yeah.
Then it's good for the stock market.
That's what they say. Yeah, that's also what we showed in
the last weeks. But now, when it was more clear that Biden was winning, stock markets also went up. They went up from Monday till Thursday, and it's now Friday. And now they are going down a little bit, but it's also normal after 4 days of gain. So, yeah, the question is, how is it possible that the stock market looks so positive now at a Democrat?
Yeah, well, I have an idea about it.
Okay.
I mean, we saw that Trump was, of course, hitting the tech companies, the larger tech companies, and you know that now with Biden would possibly be more acceptance to those companies. So obviously, as they are the biggest companies in the world and have the largest weight in the index, they gained and they pushed the Dow Jones, they pushed the Nasdaq, they pushed the S&P. So I think that is one of the main reasons. And of course, then we in Europe follow.
Yeah, and I think it's also the stock markets, they don't like if there is an uncertain situation, and when there is something more clear. So Biden is the winner, it's more certain. So that's what also stock markets like. And I think also maybe it's also possible that people realize that there won't be that big changes, because it's it's in the Senate, it's also divided. So
very divided.
Yeah, there won't be in a positive and a negative way not a lot of changes.
Well, it's going to be very tough to govern, I think.
Yeah. But again, stock market's not finished yet. They're still counting. Almost there is a winner. But next time I think we will also talk about it a little bit. And about the tech companies, this week Apple was facing problems because the market thinks that they can't deliver, they can't sell as much iPhones as the market expected. As they expected. Yeah. And Nestle did an interesting takeover for $950 million of Freshly food delivery company. So they're taking more part. They are shifting a little bit.
Shifting towards nowadays.
From producing to the last part of the chain. The ruble, so the Russian currency, is at the lowest point in 4 years against the euro, and it's also not that strange because it's oil related, oil and gas related, but also that it's also something to do with the elections, of course. So it's for the Russians, it's more difficult situation because in an export, of course. Primark, owned by a British company, and they have really bad figures. And normally, what you see, of course, in this times with you can call it a crisis. People are
it's a silent crisis. As they said it says it in
the people are more shifting to a little bit more cheaper products. Yeah. And Primark, on average, they sell more cheaper products. But they're really bad figures, and that was because I didn't realize that before, and that's because they don't have an online channel. So you can't buy the clothes online. So in a lot of countries, the stores are closed. Yeah. And I think, how is it possible that nowadays, if you're a small entrepreneur, of course,
there must be a reason for it. Maybe because they have so much in that shop. I don't know that it's nowadays.
Yeah, but also, of course, maybe they had their reasons, but why they didn't make a shift? Because this crisis is since March.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it couldn't be that difficult to open a web shop, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially for a company that size.
Yeah. PayPal had really good figures. ByteDance, they raised $2 billion. They want to have an IPO in Asia, and by raising that money, the value of the company is around $180 billion. And ByteDance is the owner of TikTok.
Yeah.
Yes, pretty well.
Yeah, also surprising news that the IPO with Ant Group didn't go on. Jack Ma was going to be one of the richest persons in Asia, the 11th richest person in the world. But on Tuesday, the Chinese supervisor blocked the IPO. So the larger investment banks on Wall Street lost about 400 million on that.
And Alibaba, that they lost 9%.
9%. Yeah.
I think it's also interesting news that Booking, so the booking company, it used to called Priceline, but since 2018 it's called Booking. Of course, they are facing really big problems, but last quarter they reported a positive result of $500 million over the last quarter. So that's really quite positive.
That's
Still more than 70% less than the last quarter in 2019, but they made a profit, and that's because people are still traveling, but within the countries.
Yeah.
So they don't travel abroad. So that's why, of course, the airline companies like Ryanair, they reported a 200 million loss this week, and they are facing the big problem. But it's interesting to see that within this sector, that Priceline or former Priceline Booking is doing it quite well, and they made a positive profit.
Yeah, you mentioned it's good for the staff, no? That they didn't.
Yeah, because they wanted to fire a lot of people, and now because of these figures, it's already less. So that's really good. That's really good for the people, definitely. Yeah, and you have something about
Spain. Also Spain, first one little bit about it's a topic that is maybe not that popular amongst some people, but it's very hot at the moment. The cannabis stocks are have gone up this week of almost 60-70% on average, and that's mainly also because of Biden, because there's a lot of states where it wasn't allowed to use cannabis as a medicine. They're now in the process of, by Biden winning there, that it possibly will be approved. So that I found interesting.
In those states.
In those specific states, that has really. I mean, and also Aurora Cannabis, one of the large. They joined up with Meta, and they make on a yearly basis now already $1 million of revenue, where they were before still making losses. So you see those companies are shifting. They're large companies. Also about Spain, quickly, positive news about Just Eat. They promised some help to Asturias, Castilla y León, Murcia and other provinces to help the restaurants with special packages and to reduce the cost for deliveries, which is positive. Negative news, obviously nearly every week from the Spanish banks, the morosity is going through the roof. Worst one in the class is Banco Santander, with nearly 1% of the clients that might possibly get into the morosity. At this moment, it's 0.35% of the clients can't pay their mortgages, can't pay their short-term loans, and they are selling those mortgages and loans as sweetbreads at the moment. Also bad news about Spain, before Kaspar finish off. Worst figures in Europe. Gross domestic product went down with nearly 13% compared to the average in Europe of 7.5%. Unemployment figures worse than Greece, even 18.9%. Greece is at 17.5%, second worst in Europe. And then the last, the government deficit at the moment at 120% compared to the GDP, and the expectations are that it's going to 123%. So Spain, not good. I asked you before, Kaspar, what do you think about it? Is it that there's something wrong? Because what they said is the main reason for this huge debt is the fact that they threw everybody in the ERTE, the temporary stop of the employment.
Yeah, but I think the good thing is that I think the basics in life, you need to have a roof and you need to eat, and that's what they did. They didn't give a lot of money to all those people. They gave people to survive. And I think that's the basic in your country.
There's not much more you can do. I totally agree with you.
That's the basics, so you help people to survive. And hopefully, if the economy recovers,
and modernizes.
Yeah, and if it recovers, then you can have a jump start. And of course, Spain is depending for a big part of the economy on the tourist sector. And everybody was hoping, a lot of people were hoping that, and after the summer, COVID-19 was gone.
It's gone, it would not come back. Yeah.
So they took a risk, but on the other hand, I think if you look back during the financial crisis, always the complaint was that they didn't put enough money into the economy. And government debt is of course one thing. I think it's dangerous, but on the other hand, it's an isolated problem. So we can look maybe into that a little bit further. But the important thing is that people can still eat and drink, and I think that's nothing to do with the economy.
No.
At the end, maybe
it's
it
just
is.
survival modus. Yeah.
And that's also.
And then you have to pay a price for that.
Yeah, definitely. To wrap up with some small positive news is that we are in Marbella, and normally you have really nice Christmas lights through the whole city. And this year the local government decided we're not going to invest in the lights. All the money that we save with that we give back to the local people, to the shops. So it's a small sign, but I think it's a good sign. And everybody, when people will pick it up, then I think we can survive these difficult times.
Absolutely.
So thank you for watching. Thank you, and hope to see you next week.